Okay, so you were showing me that, yes, we have been saying that we are in the rapids now. And at the same time, now imagine the rapids. They're the they're the two cones kissing. Yeah, that's the Yod He Vod He. So, and we're coming in from one side, and so it's the cone, right? And it's like water going down a drain. It also accelerates until it shoots until it comes to the point where it doesn't swirl anymore, then it just shoots, and that's when it has reached that threshold, that Planck threshold, and shoots through the 0 point, and where it is completely unpacked, and when it comes out the other side, it is put like back. It's like Humpty Dumpty's put back together again, and then we come out the other side of that cone. And okay, so that's the acceleration that we're in now as a collective, as I've been saying, or as they've been saying, I've been getting, and yes, and so we're telling you, we've told you now this morning, take your time. It's not a race, because the more that we get into this vortex, the rapids, the more space we have, the more time we have, the more peace we have. It is only experienced as is only experienced as an acceleration from the aspects of us that are still anchored and identified in the old personality, in the old story, which means the conditioned ways. That's what I mean with old. It means in the conditioned ways, the ways that we were conditioned in this world to believe, into that mindset, into that paradigm, and that all the different aspected identities that have formed within that conditioned mind, within that paradigm of what we also call 3D. For those aspects, it feels like everything is speeding up, and they're getting stressed, they're getting under pressure, and they feel like they're in a rat race. They feel like, that's why I feel this way a lot, like it comes through that, or there's a tone there, a tone where it's like uh, under pressure. In a rat race, under pressure to make it, to get all the ducks in a row before we go through the tunnel, before we go through 0 point, before we die and rebirth, yes. And so they're telling me this morning, take your time. And on top of everything, I'm having time tea. Mm. Oh, that is delicious. Hmm. Yeah, and so they're showing me, well, let's just go direct, it's easier. Yeah, it is to come into the middle. The more you are in the side dynamic of it, which is you are beside yourself, which is you are not in alignment with your pure essence, your divine self that is anchored through the 0 point. And when it's anchored through the 0 point, it's connected and anchored into all the toruses that you inhabit, that you receive the currents from, that you are a part of, that you are a fractal of. And that is stability. And in that, you have all the time in the world. And none of that which is going on around you, that current that is picking up steam, that is swirling around, it's like that is the integration, that is the remembering, bringing all of your parts back into that anchoring. Anchor them all here. So you keep all of your parts. It's just they transform as you awaken to them and see the truth of them. They don't carry anymore the sound frequency, the flavor, and the reflection of who you thought you were, who they thought they were. A belief system based in the conditioning that we were raised in, that we came into, and that we were conditioned into. Mm-hmm. And then you remind yourself that you have indeed all the time in the world to do what you came here to do what your heart needs to do, what your mission is, what your passion is. Because there is this anxiety as the 3D, the outside, the systemic paradigm, so the system paradigm, yeah? The paradigm that you were conditioned into, the 3D, the inverted matrix, all the belief systems that you've taken on from from your social environment as you were growing up and so forth, continuously growing in those patterns from those base conditionings. They, how they branch out, and then they are magnetic to their resonances, and that's how they grow these kind of identities based in the false premise of beside yourself, not anchored in the one. So they are anchored in already in anxiety. They're anchored in the division, which has a fear-based frequency, even though it can be very subtle, but it is a stressful thought. It is not based in peace because it's not based in oneness. And that is a frequency in our torus, in our tornado, in our vortex. And if we try to come to peace by coming from that aspect and its belief system, trying to fix things on the outside and make them perfect so that you can be at peace, so that you can be feel good and content, and in the ability to enjoy, to find joy in this moment, in what is, it cannot happen, it cannot succeed, because it's like saddling the horse from the wrong side. It's because it's always working in the outside, always working in the physical, always focused on the physical, because it's coming from a physical self that is based in the image of yourself. So it's coming from the physical self as if that was who you are, period. And then on top of it, the story of the physical self with through all the conditioning. So that is the image of who you are. So coming from that, and then always being focused on in the belief that only when I arrange my situation, my physicality in the perfect way, can I find peace, while I myself am not at peace. Is not possible, because it is a projection. That is how it works, from the inside to the outside. The outside is a reflection of the inside. What we see is a reflection of who we are, in the sense of the field of sound that we hold, that we inhabit, all our beliefs, but also the complete unconscious. It is enough to have one aspect of yourself resonate with this, and to come back into, through that aspect, anchor into the truth of who you are, and sit with that. And remember that this is where peace is, and this is where you and how you create peace in your life. By coming from this place, and by reminding yourself that this is the truth. And this is the true power. This is where your creation power comes from, and where you have the strongest what is the word in English now? Ledger. So a ledger, like you have the longer the ledger is, okay, that's tier air. The longer the ledger is, the less strength you need to push it down. Oh, and then the stone. Yeah, so there was tier air and then a stone, because the image is that, so you have like a pole or a ledger, and you have a big stone, and to lift this stone, which is power, the longer the ledger is, the less strength you need to push it down to lift the stone. So the more power you have. And so the longest ledger, where you need the least effort, exactly, the least effort to manifest or to create the greatest creational power, to have the greatest creational power, is in the truth. Which means that if you're trying to manifest from, and you still have, are coming from a majority of yourself still in the image, you need much more effort. to lift that stone. And maybe you won't even be able to lift it. You can only lift smaller ones with a lot of effort. So when you come into the eye of the storm, that is your true self, the eye of the storm. All the power is here. And you will align with your true passion and mission and what is meant for you to create. And how do you know what that is? It's your true heart's desire. It's your true passion and your true heart's desire, and it is those desires, wishes, longings that you have that never go away. They always stay with you. They're not temporary. And they may, as you step into that mission that guides you from your true self, they may transform over time, yes, but they are anchored in truth, and they always have the same flavor. So coming back to this anxiety, that that underlying sense that, God, there's so much I want to do, so much I want to bring through birth, through me create. I feel so much wants to come through me in this world, and there's a need to express that. So that's on the one hand, this need, and on the other hand, there is the pulling away from the center, from that which is still in the periphery of the swirl, of the spin of the vortex, in the cone, the pine cones, yeah, that vortex. Mm. So the swirl of the periphery of the vortex, it's still, this is what they're showing, is still pulling you out. So your periphery, what comes in from the outside, from the world, so to speak, the world that is still over 51, let's just say it this way, that is still over 51% anchored in the image of self, and that is therefore in the throes of the rapids, which are white waters, right? It's like, whoa, this is going fast, and I can't keep up, and there's so much to do. And of course, the inverted matrix is set up to keep us in the periphery, so that we don't remember and center, and so we can't shoot through that 0 point, because then they have no more. The inverted matrix is built to have access to our light, but they need it to be condensed, they need it to be compressed, dense. They need it to be dense because they're dense, and those are that's the ones that are anchored completely in the image, and are completely running on parasitical currents, which are the inverted currents. Yeah, and they can only run on our power, because they don't have any power. They have no more access. Yeah, so everything in our system, which has been taken over by this parasitical unconsciousness, because it's not conscious. It's just running on, it's running on empty. It's like it's really like a program. And a lot of it is also AI program. And that's okay. So we'll get to that in a presentation that's coming up very soon that I'm preparing. So these are the distractions that tell us they need us, and we have to give our attention there. Yes, and depending on where we are at, there will still be the need to give attention. Let's say to um, uh, if we are, if we are employed, or we have a business or something like that, a job, but a job that is not coming yet from, because that wouldn't be a job, not living our passion, but where we still need to give our power away, our attention, in order to make a living. And when I say give it away, it's like if it weren't for the living that we're making from it, so let's say the money that we're getting from it, we would never do this. So it's always that kind of a dynamic. It's something we wouldn't do on our own. And that's what meditation is. It means being in the middle. And that's also the middle of the bicameral mind on that bridge. And it's balancing, it's the balance between the inner masculine and feminine. And that balance, when you imagine the pole of the polarity coming into balance, and we are standing in the middle, that is peace. And then we are operating at peak performance and peak efficiency. And you will see that what truly needs to be done in the 3D will be done from that place effortlessly and without stress. It just flows naturally, and joy can come through again into our daily tasks, the 3D tasks of the things that we need to do to take care of our bodies and the bodies of those in our care. So how do we balance the masculine and feminine? The feminine aspect the is the inside, the intuitive. It's where the soul, where we have access to our soul. The masculine has access to the soul through the feminine. The feminine and the masculine, they are one. They just are conditioned to not work as one, but against each other. That's part of the inverted matrix conditioning. Actually, they are one, and the soul first comes into the feminine that receives it, and then the masculine expresses it. So that bridge where we stand in the center, it also has these two cones. There is also this, because each hemisphere is also its own torus. So it's like you can see a cell, like, so you have one cell and then it divides into two, but these two cells are still within the one cell. That's how it is in our brain. So to remember this, to remember always to come back into this still point and to know, to realize come back to all eyes. Realize, come back to all eyes, which is one eye. Looking through all eyes of yourself. So realize is also realign. And it's also the crown, because because Re is Ra, is also Re is also king, and that's the crown. And when we stand in that, on that bridge, we are the king of our own land or the queen of our own land. It doesn't matter because it's king and queen. They act as one. They're twins, I want to say, because these are twins. You know, this is the inside, masculine and feminine, is both you. And it is the receiver and then the expressor. So what is being received also needs to be expressed. So you are coming from your true being, and you are acting from your true being. And that is very different from the way that we've been conditioned to act and that we are habituated to act and think. So there is a constant reminder, and we remind all the cells of the body, take your time. You have all the time in the world. There is no need to stress out or for anxiety that you won't make it in time.